Norman's youngest brother, and is also a doctor and was a working partner for Norman for many years in the practice in King's Cross. But the fact that he's very famous for and has the unique experience, he's the only person that we know of that's beaten Norman at golf. So I think for that reason alone, he has earned the right to give this speech. So I'd like to call upon Mervyn now.
Well, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that acceptance. And welcome tonight to This Is Your Life. My speech is going to be in two parts. The first one is Hing, meaning Norman. Next one is, the second part is the Hing and I. Now, as you have known from this evening, Norman was born in Sydney, Australia, on a Monday, 18th of March, 1918. Now, they hadn't finished the World War I then, so... Secondly, those amongst you who have numerology, astrology, etc., that's 18318, whatever you like to use that. Secondly, he was a Piscean. And thirdly, in the Chinese horoscope, born in the year of the horse. Now, I understand that my big brother and very much older brother, I'm going to ask him actually to make a speech on my 100th birthday, so we'll see how we go with the tablets he's taking. Now, he was a very brilliant student in his early times, becoming dux of Fort Street Boys High School, taking the two top general proficiency prizes, as well as coming first in physics and mathematics. So after a brilliant pass in the leaving certificate, he then went to study, as you just heard, engineering. After 2 very prominent years there, he changed his mind and went over to medicine, where he was a very capable student, getting distinctions and credits on the way and graduating with honours after the 6th year. Following that, he had some internship and residency at Sydney Hospital and then later commenced private practice in Macleay Street, Potts Point. Now, the Hing and I version is because as a young boy, indirectly, we had a lovely radio console in our lounge room. And that was my constant companion because being such a young fellow, everyone has left home in the daytime. That was my, say, link to the rest of the world. So one day I asked my father, how did we come to have this fine piece of furniture in our lounge room? He said, when you see him on Sunday, you ask your big brother because he built that radio. So there's talent whilst he was studying hard to at least make a radio. Secondly, he brought home cars when he was starting his practice. And being a big brother and a little brother, he commandeered me to wash and clean a car, but with help and guidance. And with a kitchen stool, I managed to get to the roof. No problems with the wheels, but the roof was okay. But my reward was to have a drive from our home through the northern suburbs to places like Palm Beach, Narrabeen, which you could get in at least half the time it would take you today. On the way back, they had recently opened the Wakehurst Parkway, where for about, I think, 15 miles was unlimited speed. So I think Norman could just reach that accelerator pedal and we sailed right through to roundabout French's Forest. Later on, his interest turned to golf, as you've heard, Now, being a perfectionist, he wanted to be one of the best. There weren't any driving ranges, so we had a big backyard. And little brothers have to learn to catch the ball from the chipping of an 8-iron or a 9-iron. Now, at first, my hands couldn't do it, but being innovative, Norman bought me a pair of wicket-keeping gloves. For those from America, these are like catcher mitts. So we perfected that, and on to the golf course we went. And he was very proficient around the greens after all that practice. Now, the next phase, he was to play social golf. Now, you don't lumber around a golf course with bags on your back when you have a young, stripping brother. So the first few times it was quite good because we played on the flat. But it came to be that this final was going to be played in the Blue Mountains. Now, up and down Dale, after 4 holes, I said, Norman, this bag is heavy. He said, don't you worry, you can get through. I got to the 9th hole. I said, I'm sorry, it's heavy. He said, all right, I'll turn it upside down, which he did. Out came the wood, out came the iron, and then with a little shake, half a house brick. His playing companions had wanted him to carry this load for 18 holes, not knowing that he had a little brother behind him who was doing it. However, he still won the tournament, so that's it. Later on, that set of clubs was handed down to me, and it was my treasured possession for quite a number of years. Later, Norman went and became a member of the Lakes Golf Club, as you heard, and I did follow becoming a member 1 year later. And about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a presentation made at the Lakes where both he and I were presented with a medallion commemorating our 50 years of continuous membership of the Lakes. And last week he received a letter from the president of the Lakes Golf Club congratulating him on achieving 60 years of continuous membership of the Lakes. Now, practice paid off because he started winning the weekly, monthly, and then finally, as we call in the golf vernacular, the majors. He won the B grade championship. He won the captain's trophy. He won the Nippon Cup. And then with Ricky, he won the father and son. But not to be done in this manner, he went out into the other realm, that is, the social club. So he won the Journalist Club Cup a number of times. He won the AMA Cup many times. He also won the Sydney Hospital Club Cup as well many times. Now, next thing that he did was to wait till I graduated in medicine. And after the compulsory internship and residency, he said, would you take over for about 8 months whilst I attend a refresher course at the famous Harvard University in Boston, Massachusetts. Well, 8 months goes like that. Came back, I remained as an assistant, and then later on as a partner. Now, the building in which we were situated at that time were to undergo redevelopment. So we had to seek new premises. The ones we found were on the corner, or actually at the intersection of Darlinghurst Road and Victoria Street. As you well know, that is called King's Cross. It so happened that Albert, the second brother, had a dental practice on one corner, and Stanley, the chemist, had a chemist shop on the other corner. Now, you don't have to be Einstein to say that the locals suddenly said, why don't we change King's Cross to Hing's Cross? Now, two major developments occurred about this time. One, a large development of hotels in the King's Cross area, to which came tourists, and also the airlines to transport them here. So they lived for 2 or 3 days on the journey back to their previous flights, and so we were accorded the distinction of being the medical officers for Air New Zealand, Singapore Airlines, Thai Airlines and Malaysian Airways. So we were constantly very busy. However, it did accord us a couple of visits to the Qantas jet base, where we were seeing on a mock-up basis how they would handle an emergency in a plane, and with the drone of the engines, it was very hard to hear people's heartbeat, etc., but it was very, very enlightening. The second one was entertainment. Entertainment came into Sydney in nightclubs and suddenly RSL clubs, etc. Now they all stayed in the hotels, so that quite often we were asked to come and see some of the stars. Now I'm not at liberty to say who they were, but they were able to hand us an autographed picture of the star, and they were hung up in our waiting room. Now, after this, there was a sort of a hiatus until Sydney CBD started to build hotels, and everybody went down to the seaside or the harbour side. So we left without that particular aspect the last couple of years. Finally, we decided that we would hang up the stethoscope, so that we would do it after 65 years, I think Norman was there. I was there probably about 45. But there were happy years, many, many funny things that happened. I can't tell you all of those, unfortunately. Now, lastly, I would like to congratulate Norman on achieving this fine milestone and wish him a happy 100th birthday. Thank you.